They always told us never to go near the land. Humans feared what they didn't understand. And what they feared, they destroyed. I believed them once. I stayed hidden in the coves, under the arches, weaving between the deep rocks where no one could follow. But the ocean felt smaller every season. Boats cut across the open water. Hooks dangled from the cliffs. The old safe paths were changing. Tonight, the warnings sounded louder than ever. The storm came fast, tearing nets from the docks, snapping old ships against the rocks. From below the surface, I saw the lightning split the sky into white veins. I should have stayed deep. I should have hidden until the water stilled again. But curiosity pulled me closer to the surface. That's when I saw him. Not a fisherman, not a hunter. Just a man, clinging to the wreckage of a mast, his body slipping lower with every wave. He fought to stay above the water, kicking weakly against the pull. The current shoved him toward the cliffs. No one else was near. I stayed low, hidden by the churning tide. The warnings echoed in my head. Don't interfere. Don't let them see you. Don't trust a human heart. I turned away once, started back toward the reef. Another crash of thunder made me look again. His hands were slipping from the wood. His head sank under the water. I moved before I could think. The warnings followed me into the storm, but I didn't listen. Not that night. I reached him as the wreck splintered apart. He wasn't moving much anymore. I pulled him from the drag of the cliffs toward the cove. The current shifted near the rocks, breaking just enough for me to push him into the shallow pool. His body hit the sand, coughing weakly. I stayed hidden in the water, watching. Lanterns bobbed in the distance, voices shouting. The villagers were coming. He lifted his head weakly. I backed away, sliding into the dark waves before anyone else could see. The men found him a moment later, dragging him up the shore. I watched from the reef, heart pounding. For 3 nights, I stayed away from the cliffs. The others whispered about the storm, about the boats broken against the rocks. I told myself it didn't matter, but every night I drifted closer to the shallows without meaning to. The memory of him gasping for breath pulled me harder than any tide. On the 4th night, I surfaced near the village. Faint lights glowed beyond the beach. I saw him there, sitting by the fire alone, wrapped in a torn coat. No nets, no weapons, just staring out at the dark water. I should have turned back. Instead, I stayed hidden by the rocks, watching until the fire burned low. The elders called a meeting near the deep pools. They spoke of storms, broken nets, boats sunk too easily. They blamed the surface world. They blamed humans. And they warned again, stay hidden, stay safe. Some spoke of leaving the cove entirely, moving deeper where no boats could reach. I nodded along. I agreed, but my thoughts drifted back to the man on the beach. That night, I surfaced again. He wasn't at the fire. I moved closer to shore, staying under the waves. A soft sound broke the quiet. A voice singing. Low, rough. It was him, sitting alone on the rocks, singing to the empty sea. Not for an audience, just for himself. I listened longer than I should have. I promised myself it was only once. Just one night watching from the water. Just one night hearing his voice. But I returned again. And again. The village grew colder. The guards set more traps near the beach. Still, he came to the rocks every night. No net, no boat. Just a lantern and a broken tune. I surfaced closer once, close enough to hear him mutter to the waves,
You're real, aren't you?
I drifted back before he could look toward the ripple. Somehow, I already knew I couldn't stay away anymore. 2 nights later, the tide shifted higher. I risked coming to the shore, only for a moment. He wasn't at the rocks this time. He was standing by the wreckage of the old boats, staring out at the dark horizon. I stayed behind a fallen mast, watching. He knelt by the broken wood, picking through pieces. He found something, a small shell caught in the splintered frame. He turned it over in his hand and tucked it into his jacket. I stayed frozen. He didn't know I was there, but somehow it felt like he did. The next night, the storm returned, smaller, rougher. I surfaced near the rocks, careful. He was there. He stepped into the surf, water rushing around his ankles.
You don't have to be afraid. I just want to know if you're real.
His voice cracked slightly. He knelt down, resting his hand in the water again. Open, waiting. I drifted closer, heart pounding. Close enough that I could see his eyes in the low light. But I didn't touch him. I let the current pull me back before the choice became too hard. Days passed. I stayed hidden during the day, but every night I returned. Sometimes I heard him speaking. Sometimes he just sat in silence. Once he left something on the rocks, a piece of driftwood shaped like a heart. He didn't stay to watch. I found it floating near the surf. I pushed it back toward the shore without touching it. I wasn't ready for gifts, not yet. But I wasn't ready to let go either. The fishermen grew restless. They spoke of curses, of bad luck. They blamed the broken nets, the missing fish, the storms. Talk of a hunt started again. He argued with them at the docks.
Not everything broken needs a blade to fix it.
They didn't listen. He walked away from the firelight, angry and alone. I followed from the water, keeping pace as he climbed the dunes. He stopped at the highest point and stared at the sea.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not like them.
I surfaced farther down the beach where he couldn't see. But I heard him, and it was enough. One night I drifted too close to the beach. He spotted the ripple. He didn't move. He only waited. Slow, careful. I surfaced just enough for my face to break the water. He saw, and he smiled, small, real. Not fear, not anger, something softer. He stepped back, giving space. No rush, no trap. Only an invitation. I disappeared beneath the waves again. But the world between us was already smaller. The village grew louder. Nets were dragged across the shallows, spears sharpened by firelight. Rumors spread of sightings, shapes in the water, songs on the wind. He tried to stop them, tried to warn them, but fear moves faster than truth. He waited at the beach each night, lantern in hand, hoping for a glimpse. I watched from the rocks, knowing the danger grew with every breath. Still I stayed. Still I watched. One night, when the fire pits burned low, he wasn't alone. Men followed him to the beach. They waited in silence, hiding in the dunes. When I surfaced, drawn by habit, by hope, the nets flew fast. I dove too late. The weight of the net caught my shoulder. I fought hard, twisting, tearing through the rope. Voices shouted. Torches lit the water. I escaped into the deeper currents, heartbroken, lungs burning. And from the cliffs, I saw him, standing among them, not chasing, not shouting, but not stopping them either. For days, I stayed hidden beyond the reef. The currents pulled strong, dragging broken wood past me. The village grew quiet. The boats stayed closer to the docks. At night, he came to the rocks alone again. No torches, no nets. Just him. He knelt by the water and placed the driftwood heart in the sand.
I'm sorry.
I watched from far beyond the breakers. I didn't move. I didn't answer. Some wounds take longer than storms to heal. When the tide shifted again, I returned once more to the cove. He was there standing by the waterline. No rope, no trap, only waiting. I surfaced farther out, watching. He didn't call. He didn't chase. He only whispered into the tide.
I still believe.
I floated beyond his reach, feeling the current pull stronger towards the open sea. Choices wrapped around my heart like kelp. I let the tide decide. I drifted away without a sound. The cliffs faded behind me, the nets, the fires, the songs, all swallowed by the horizon. But some memories cling deeper than tides. I would always remember the boy who opened his hand instead of throwing a stone. The boy who almost believed enough to save us both. Maybe in another world, we could have been more than strangers across the waves. Maybe in another life, I would have stayed. But the ocean carried me forward, and I didn't fight the current this time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment for more inspiring stories and content.